Good morning, good evening. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to this week's live stream. I am multi-streaming today. So I'm having a go. I've not done it this way before. I'm multi-streaming to LinkedIn, to Twitter, and also here to YouTube. So I don't know if everything's going to work. I have not tried not streaming to LinkedIn or to Twitter before. I thought I'd give it a try. And why haven't I multi-streamed to these platforms? Because I've always had like I've got I have a thing about multi-stream. All right, like I've it's that balance between fracturing your community and being seen by more people, right? So for me, I love YouTube. You guys that are here know me, know I love YouTube. I love the chat that happens on YouTube, the interactivity that those of you here already here watching are chatting with each other as well. Whereas I find that when people are streaming on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all the other places, if I bring on a comment from someone from somewhere else, they're like, where was that comment? I didn't see that comment. So it's like this mix. But at the same time, you also get to go to a broader audience. So it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. I don't know if it's even working in any of these places. I've got no idea. I've never tried to stream to any of these other places before, and we will see. We'll check it out later on. I'm just going to not muck around and not play. So those of you that are here in the chat or here watching the replay, let me know, have you multi-streamed before? What is the platforms that you've tried multi-streaming to? So we'll have let me know. So that's a whole aside. That's a whole aside because my brain's like, is it even working? I don't know if it's even working. Am I going live in these other places? Who knows? Because I've never done it before. And all I did was connect it up through StreamYard and cross my fingers. Oh, wow, that is awesome to know. Thank you so much. It's coming through LinkedIn just fine. That is great. Thank you so much for checking that for me, live stream consultants. I'm like, I could go in and check, like I could go and open it up, but then is it going to mess up my stream? Maybe, I don't know. Is it going to be noisy? Who knows? I didn't know. So I appreciate you checking that for me. Now, today's stream, I've called it live streaming best practices. And I know that's a really broad and really just like a what kind of topic. But what I wanted to talk about is over the last couple of months, it has actually been a couple of months, each week we pick one topic to deep dive on. And those of you that have live streamed before, you guys know that when it comes to live streaming, it's a little bit of a juggling all the balls kind of situation. It is not just one thing, it is juggling all the things. So, I'm just trying to, there we go. I'm trying to move my Twitter to something that's not moving. There we go. That one's not moving because it was catching my eye. And so what we need to understand as a live streamer, unless you have your own live stream producer, you do need to juggle a lot of these balls at the same time. So what I wanted to talk about is a couple of things that would make it a little easier, a little less stressful, but you still need to juggle all the balls. So Amazing Yacht Destination says, I've not yet, I'm assuming, streamed to other multi-platforms, but I am considering Facebook as the only other option. So what I would say is double check, like if you're going to stream to a Facebook group rather than a Facebook page, there are some, Facebook have got like a few extra hoops you need to jump through to make it work. So other than that, I'm like, go for it, give it a try, see how you go with it. So the first thing that you need to do as broad strokes, we're going broad strokes here, folks, is prepare. Okay. And I know that sounds like, oh, amby-pamby advice, prepare. No, you need to prepare. You need to know what it is you want to talk about. You need to think about where it is that you want to stream, and all of these things to make sure that everything is set up for it. So you need to prepare. Now, those of you that are already on my email list, you may already have this, but I have a live stream checklist that I run through before I actually go live. And it's not just minutes beforehand. It's the week beforehand or a few days beforehand. And if you've got a guest, it probably is a week or more beforehand, organizing the guest, making sure that that everything, calendars sync up and everyone's expectations are being met and understood. So if you haven't yet joined my email list, I believe I have a link in the description. I'm like, do I actually have a link in the description? I'll have to check that. Now, if you want a copy of the checklist, you can just DM me on socials or join the email list. If there's no link to the email list, just hit my website. There's a link to the email list there. I'm like, oh, so prepared. This is what happens if you're not prepared. Okay. So don't be me. Make sure that you can be like, it's just here and know it's there. I'm like, oh yeah. I double checked that it was like, that the email list was all good. I double checked the actual checklist. I double checked. I forgot to check if the link was in the description. Good job, me. So you need to prepare and you need to go through these checklists and there's a lot of little things. So the checklist might look a bit overwhelming. It's pretty intense. I'm just going to open it up and see if I can share. Actually, no, I'm not going to share it. But anyway, it's a full A4 page checklist, right? But it includes sections on if you're inviting a guest. If you're not having a guest, skip that entire section, so it's not as bad. But one thing I will say is people do not speed test enough. And this goes for you as the host and for your guests. And now, depending on the live streaming software that you are using, you may actually need to make sure you've got double the speed than you normally would. So if you use something like Ecamm or OBS or something like that, you need to make sure that your live streaming can actually take a guest. Now, things like StreamYard, they take the load. You don't need to have more bandwidth to have a guest. But Ecamm, OBS, vMix, a few of the others, you need to have more bandwidth available for guesting. So we've got a question here in the chat. We had a new one last night. Livestream got taken down. Someone with a 2-day-old account started commenting, asking why there was a 4-year-old playing Roblox. They got YouTube to take down the stream. We won the dispute, but was still frustrating. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are people out there who take pleasure in doing this kind of actions. And all I can say is that they must have hit report and had other people hit report. I don't believe one person hitting report is enough. I could be wrong, but I don't believe one person hitting report is enough. And I am glad you won the dispute. Is there any way to prevent it? I don't know. Short of not having a 4-year-old playing Roblox, I honestly don't know. That would be a really great question for Team YouTube on Twitter. But when it comes to the reporting function, it needs to be there. The reporting function does need to be there. And so, because, like something bad could be happening and people need the ability to be able to report it. But unfortunately, some people weaponize some of these reporting features. And it does make it a little harder for those of us doing the right thing, but maybe upsetting other people. Yeah, she's 7. No, I was kidding. But, this is the thing. There's always going to be people that feel that children under 13 should not be on social media platforms. And it's actually against the law for them to be on social media without an adult in shot in most countries. So maybe that could be it. But I would definitely be chatting with Team YouTube and be talking with the platforms to double check that, you won the dispute. So obviously you were doing the right thing. But I don't know about how to go about stopping it from happening. But yeah, as Doug here has said, if a minor is on camera, an adult has to be clearly present. Absolutely. So and that could be how maybe they didn't see an adult in the shot and they know that that's the rule. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, and I don't have the answer. So let me just go back here. Checklists are great. We're human and forget the little things that actually make the stream. Do you know what? I don't even know how many streams I've done. Okay. I was thinking about, someone was talking about how they've done hundreds of streams. And I'm like, I don't even know how many I've done. I've been streaming nearly every single week for 8 years. So that's a lot. I've done a lot of streams, and I still need a checklist, because stuff happens, stuff runs around, stuff, goes on while you're doing things, and your brain just switches off. You can't rely on just remembering how to do things. So having a checklist, I actually have mine, it's not in here, but I have mine laminated so that I can just mark it off with like a whiteboard marker and then wipe it. And so it's really helpful. For me, I need the physical checklist, not just, actually, I could put it on my iPad. Sorry. I made my checklist before I had an iPad, so I've gone old school with it, but I could totally put it on my iPad. But yeah, definitely having a physical checklist, whether it's on your iPad. Chantelle, can someone remind me to do that later? Or yeah, checklists are great when you actually use them. How true is that? How true is that? So my first thing that I would say that the most important is do a stream test. Now, for me, when I come in here, I've got my stream starts at 9 a.m. for me. So when I get up, my studio is in my house, so I'm luckily enough I can just pop in and pop out. I come in and I shut down everything and reboot it all. So I start a stream with a fresh reboot. Excuse me. I don't run any updates the morning of. If I'm using a streaming software like Ecamm that has updates, I skip the update. I will do the update later, because what if that update makes it impossible to stream? It has happened. Not so much with Ecamm, but with some other things I've used before. It has happened. It's changed things, and I'm like, oh my God, pulling my hair out. Zach Talks Tech. It's so good to see you. Thanks for finding me. That's great. Oh, and you've also subbed to my other channel. Oh, that should be fun for you. Hope you knit. Hope you knit. Yeah, that's what they were trying to say, that it was unsupervised. Yeah, see, this is the thing. You're supposed to be on camera, not just in the room. And that could be where there's like a grey line for that viewer. So, yeah. Let me have a look here. Legal Minded Friends with Karen. Hello. Now, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, Karen, but there is a new feature on YouTube where you can show your clips in your, so if you on your homepage. So if you go customize channel, there's a new thing that you can add, which is your featured clips. I was having a play with it. I knew I'd made a clip like ages and ages ago, but I didn't know you'd made a clip. So it gets to show the clip that you made. So I watched it. I was curious what you clipped, and it was all the, what a moderator can do for you. And I was just like, that is a cool clip. So I was like, I was just going to put it up the tray and take it down, because I thought it just had the one that I clipped. But no, it was one that you clipped as well. So I'm going to leave it there, at least for now. I did have to remove something else because we're limited to 12 things on our page. So I took out one of the other things so that I could have it there. But it looks fun. It looks fun. So remembering that you can add on, and I love that it's a community thing. So it's not just the clips that I make of my own content, but it's the clips that other people make. It actually, I found that when I saw what you'd clipped, I was just like, that obviously was something important to you, that you wanted a clip of it so that you could see it. But yeah, it's just on my homepage. I think you've got to scroll down under the For You, and I think it's just there. So yeah. Russie is in the house. Hello, Russie. You need help? Please specify in the chat what you need help with, because, I will try and help. Zach says, I got notified of the stream on LinkedIn. Now I got you notification. Now I got your notification on YouTube. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I'm glad you got both. Let us have a look. Are you going to check it out? That's great. That's awesome. Zach says, I'm going to DM you about having you as a creator podcast show. I guess I'm going to DM you about having you on my creator podcast show. You're really knowledgeable when it comes to best practices and this YouTube thing. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I definitely try. I try to keep on top of that. Let me look here. Yesterday I was on a live interview. We used StreamYard. It was horrible interruption. So when you say horrible interruption, was there an issue with StreamYard? So, yeah. Oh, do you know what I love? I love it when I try to swipe off an update and it goes, oh, you want to update, do you? And it does the update for you. And you're like, oh, thanks. That's great. That's so good. Okay, so we've been talking about preparation and making sure you're prepared. Now, you can go and join my email list and get my checklist, or you can DM me on socials and I'll send it through to you that way. And that way you can see the checklist that I use, and it's a little full on. I won't lie, because I need to be reminded of every single step. So it is definitely just how I like to do it. I like to have every single thing. Look, this is how I write notes. Okay, you ready? Ready for gloomy Gus Chantelle? Everyone sitting down. I like to write my notes and my processes like this. I'm like, do I really want to tell you this story? Okay, I write it like this. Like if I got hit by a bus and all I could remember was where I worked, I want to go to work and find the notepad full of my procedures or processes, so inclusive that I could actually do my job just from that. And that's how I like my checklists. I don't want to have to remember anything. Okay? Like, I want to be able to just go, yes, I've done that. Yes, I've done that, and run a good stream. Now, if you see my checklist and there's something in there that you think should be added, let me know, and I'll go about having a look at that as well. But that's how I write my notes. I was sort of like many years ago in a previous life when I worked for an IT company. I used to have this job, and it was a really it was a really data entry heavy position. Except when I started, nobody could show me anything on how to do it. So I had to nut it all out myself. So as I was doing it, I wrote all these notes so that the next person wouldn't have to go through what I was going through. Then they expanded the team, and rather than someone teaching the next person, I hear this across the cubicles. Chantelle, where's your amnesia list? And I was like, my what? And they're like, your instructions, all you can remember is where you work. We need it to train this person. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had actually never written it like initially for somebody else. I'd written it for myself. I was going to rewrite it for other people, but at this stage it was still just very rough. Okay. And like notes of what I thought about some of the softwares. And let's just say I was really honest. And I'm like holding this book that I actually had drawn a picture of a bus on it with a person under it. And I was holding this book and like I didn't want to let it go. And I was like, and I just said to this person, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And just handed them the book. And for like 3 days, I kept hearing giggles from this person's cubicle. And I knew what it was. I knew they were reading the notes. They were having to decipher my chicken scratchings. So now I try to type everything up as I'm doing. I type it and I don't add personal insight as much. But having the notes, having a really clear path can be a game changer, because live streaming can be really daunting. If you're not used to doing it, if it's not something that's becoming part of your DNA, then there's so many moving parts, okay? There's so much going on that you just don't know. And being able to remain focused, which, those of you that have been here before know that's not my strength. because it's like, ooh, shiny thing. What happened over there? So I try to make sure that I have screens on static stuff as much as possible. So anyway, we'll go back to the chat before we jump into the next step. Zoom was better, but they won't use it anymore because they own your content. What do we do? Personally, I think if you're live streaming and interviewing, don't use Zoom. No, and I don't know. I don't believe Zoom. As far as I'm aware, Zoom does not own your content if you make it on Zoom. It is your content. You need to have saved it to the cloud. There's actually buttons you have to press to actually save the recording. Otherwise, it's just gone. But if you want decent quality, unless you've got like a super duper high res, very expensive plan on Zoom, don't use Zoom for your interview. StreamYard really should be better. I'm very curious to know exactly what the problem with StreamYard was. I know some people, like I know Shelley Saves a Day, she's had a problem with StreamYard before. But so she uses Restream, so there's another option there. EV Mux is another option if StreamYard's not working for you. But what I would be doing is jumping on to StreamYard and chatting with the StreamYard team so they can help troubleshoot what the actual problem was so that it doesn't happen again. The technical team at StreamYard is amazing. So yeah, it's definitely worth jumping in and checking. Live stream consultants asks, does the clip feature only apply to live stream or VODs? I think it's both. Oh, there we go. Doug has answered it. It's both. Yep. Awesome. Hey, Jerry, it's great to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Home Rapid Repair, always good to see you. Yeah, shorthanded only, I understand. Yeah. And do you know what? It wasn't even so much that. It was that I was really... some of the software was really bad. It looked like it had been written by, an elephant that couldn't hold a pencil and they'd given it a keyboard. So it was very, very bad. It was very bad software. Let's just go with that. Let's have a look here. Timeless says, I love lists. I was teaching my friend who hosted the live. Oh, that is cool. Zoom has been sued for millions for leaking private info. There you go. The entire group panel froze. Was it just for you or was it for the entire thing? Because sometimes someone's individual device can freeze, but it's actually working and you don't realize it. But I would definitely be getting the account holder to jump over and have a chat with StreamYard for sure, because it shouldn't happen. So let's move on. We're going to talk about practicing. So first of all, you need to prepare and then you need to practice. And I'm just talking about practicing live streaming as such. But if you're going to be demoing something, don't just assume you know how to do it and just run with it. Actually sit down, have your live stream software open so you've got all the systems open on your computer, and then run through the demo yourself. You don't have to click record. You don't have to go live, actually live. But what I would recommend is if you are concerned about the quality of your stream, if you are concerned if your system can handle the load, I would actually stream to somewhere like YouTube on a private stream where no one can find it, but you can watch it back later. And then I would run through it, and then I would be double checking your system, seeing if you've got any frozen frames, things like that would annoy you. A little bit here and there is fine. And it happens to me sometimes as well. If I forget and stream through one software, then through another, or through one browser versus another, sometimes I'll get some little choppings and things like that. And it's frustrating when I've realized that I've botched something up and you're just like, oh, that was such a simple thing. I should have just remembered to not do this thing. But if you practice it, if you sit down and you actually run through a complete practice of what you're teaching, of how you're going to do it, even if you just sort of get it all going live, talk through your microphone, double check, I'm just sitting here double checking all the things. I say that there's many a recording of me going, I'm just checking my things. Is this thing working? What about this thing? Is this thing working? And I move my hands around to make sure that there's, no freeze frames or it's not doing a juddering thing as I move and things like that. When I pulled everything apart and put everything back together, on my desk, I put in a new desk. So I had to completely pull apart my entire streaming setup. So to make sure it was all working. So you need to practice. You need to go in using the tools that you're going to use while you're live and check and practice. And you may not end up having to practice every week, which I don't anymore, but I used to. I used to jump in the day before my stream and run a private test stream and just double check, because for me here, internet speeds is an issue. Okay. And that was a big thing for me. Internet speeds are an issue because, and if you've got my checklist, you will see that there's so many times. I think there's like 3 or 4 different times throughout the checklist where I say run a speed test. And on one of them, it says yes again. Because depending on the time of the day, the weather, if somebody sneezes near it, your internet can change. Your upload speeds can change. And that's the thing. It doesn't really matter what your download speed is. As long as it's above 10 megabits per second, your download speed is like whatever. But that upload speed is what you need to be looking at. And if your upload speed is less than 5 megabits per second, there's going to be some sort of issues. Now, it's not to say it's not doable. It's totally doable. You can run it, but you need to understand that you will have a slightly lower quality stream. And unless like short of upgrading your internet and getting it above 5 megabits per second, it's going to be an issue, and you need to accept that. And when I very first started streaming, I was told you can't live stream if you don't have internet above 5 megabits per second, under 5 megabits per second. And I was like, what do you mean I can't? And this was about 8 years ago. And my internet at home my download was 4 megabits per second. My upload was like 2. And I'm like, I want to live stream. And I found a workaround. I used OBS where I could change my stream settings, where I could change my upload, speeds to be under what my internet was. And yes, I had skipped frames and I had things, but the stream technically worked. So it was definitely one of those things that you need to understand the limitations of your equipment, of your internet, of your situation, and work around that. Don't let it stop you. Just understand what the limitations are and act accordingly. Now, if you want like some crispy 4K stream that's like super sharp and amazing, but your upload speed's like 7 megabits per second, you may not get what you want. You'll be able to, for 7, you'll be able to do 1080p. And quite easily if you're using something like StreamYard, and you have the plan that gives you 1080p. But if you don't, you need to accept the limitations and plan accordingly. Okay, so technical rehearsals, absolutely. I'm all for technical rehearsals. And if you are having a guest, get them on the stream a few minutes early so that you can run through with them as well. I highly recommend that if you're going to have a guest and it's a super important stream, try and organize the day before a 5 to 10 minute quick call just to double check connections and situation and things like that, if they can do it. Otherwise, get them into the stream 10 to 15 minutes early, where you sit there chatting while you test and check things. So it is definitely, you definitely need to be checking these things. Not everybody understands streaming. Not everybody understands the uploads versus downloads. And so you need to be testing and checking these things. Let's have a look here. There's stuff happening in the chat. I was warning my friend, YouTube never froze. I had to watch it on YouTube, but StreamYard was ahead 1 minute. Yes, yes. Internet speed is, if you have dodgy internet, live streaming is going to be tricky. I was looking back at my weekly live stream replay views. They vary so greatly. Oh, well, I'll keep trying to improve. I understand the frustrations or the disappointment, or just like yes, okay, this is different. Like there's all these different varying levels of emotion that hit. I have the same thing. I've got videos on this channel that have hit 10,000 views on a channel with only a couple of hundred subscribers. And then I have things that have like 20 views. And that it is so broad and varying that you just sort of sit there thinking, what? I don't even know. So you just have to keep trying and keep plugging. Maybe look at the titling that you're using, looking at the timing that you're using. I'm sure you're doing all this home rapid repair, but sometimes it can come down to the title that you chose. Sometimes it can come down to if you decide to stream at a different day or a different time. There's so many little things that can change things up. But yeah, I can understand the frustration. Legal Minded with Karen says, I have a terrible speed, but I'm fine if I'm a guest on a channel with a strong connection. So this would, again, depend on the softwares that you're using. But if you're a guest on StreamYard, you still need a decent upload speed, but StreamYard is taking the load. As someone else is running the stream, their internet has to take the majority of the load, but you still need to have enough on your device or in your system, depending on how you're coming in as a guest. You still have enough to download their video to respond to their questions so it re-uploads again. So there's a lot of issues here. I just increased my StreamYard plan to 1080 streaming. Yeah, I personally prefer 1080 streaming, but it's individual. It really is individual. And these days, with a lot of people watching on your phone, 720 is fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I like 1080. I like 4K. I like to watch a great crispy 4K stream. I like to watch a really sharp 1080 stream. But as long as the information is solid. Oh, hang on a second. Amazing. Your Destinations has bought 3 coffees. Thank you for helping us all. Oh, it disappeared. Oh, let me just see. And thank you again for testing that for me. I'm just totally like sidetracked and derailed. I'm just going to open up the email so I can finish reading the message. Because you guys know how much I like encouraging messages. Thank you for helping us all and positive pressure to keep going. Also need to check if you did move the notification. I did move it. We did have it up where it was up a bit high, and I had like a corner thing, and it was half hidden. So I did move it. Okay, so yeah, so 720 streaming is totally fine. It is. If that's what you've got access to, run with it. Don't let that stop you. And Doug's like, wait, are you running OBS? No, I'm running Ecamm in the back end, but same deal, so I can have browser overlays. So yeah. So the 720 can totally work. Don't let that stop you. Just be aware that if you're expecting something to be crispy and clear, like if you're sharing a document that's maybe a dash small, it may not be quite what you need. You need to make sure it's big enough and that the actual file that you're using is sharp as well. So you just need to be aware, which is where your technical or your practice testing will come in as an advantage. So make sure that if you are practicing, or that you should be practicing, but make sure that when you do run your practice, you bring in all of the graphics and all of the overlays and everything you want to test to double check the visibility of it. Because there's nothing worse than watching a stream where someone keeps referencing this document that you can't read. And the other thing to remember is if you are referencing or screen sharing like documentation, that if someone's watching on a phone, no matter how crispy and clear it is on a desktop, there's a good chance they're not going to be able to read it. So don't just assume they can read what's on your screen. Okay, so let's jump into the next questions. My friend was the host. She used her cell phone. Is that the issue? Look, no. Technically, that should not be the issue because StreamYard hosts everything online. I honestly don't know what the problem was. I don't know why the whole panel froze. Unless it just froze for 1 or 2 people, then it's their individual internet. But if it froze for the entire, like everybody who was there, then that's definitely a conversation you should have with StreamYard. So let's hear. Oh yeah, the top Doug's helping with home rapid repair. So yeah, topic title and thumbnail so important. Absolutely, they are. It's totally okay. I'm 100% okay with being derailed by positive and kind comments. Definitely. Aline Smith, it's so good to see you. Thank you for jumping in. So yeah, so practicing is just so important. I've written testing as well, because I think that practicing is one thing and testing is another. Okay, and while they can interchange, practicing is when you've already got everything, tweaked, like all the tweaks are done and you're just doing a final run through. That's your practice. But your testing is where you're like, oh, I want to see if this thing is going to work. Right now, this stream is a test. I am testing live because I am streaming on Twitter and I am streaming on LinkedIn as well. I do know that LinkedIn is working, and I did see before that Twitter was working. So they're working, but no one is in those places commenting. I've never streamed there. I don't expect audiences there, honestly, because I've never streamed to those destinations before. I wanted to see if I could, because I've never done it. And as I said right at the beginning of the stream, I'm always being a little bit, I'm torn. I am literally torn over how I feel about multi-streaming. Oh, Larry, thank you so much. Thank you for always being helpful. I really appreciate that, Home Rapid Repair. Thank you so much. But yeah, so I am so torn with multi-streaming, because I believe in my heart and in my soul that to build a community, they need to be together. And this is the problem. I'm more about community building than I am about audience building, which is dumb. I get it. Okay, so yes, I can build a broader audience, but if they're all over the place, are they a community? No, but I wanted to see if I could do it. So I needed to test it. Aline is here. She's commented from Twitter. Thank you. We love you, Chantelle. You are inspirational, and never forget it. I'll try not to forget that. Thank you. Let me look. A multi-streaming, you should legally be co-authors and creators. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So I'm multi-streaming across my Twitter and my LinkedIn account. So I'm not multi-streaming across, say, like Doug and I have multi-streamed, where we run the stream on both Doug's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel, and that's a co-author creator situation. Whereas right now I'm multi-streaming across different platforms, but all on my accounts. Just to be clear. I've multi-streamed, but then some people on Twitch will not like being alone, so they move to YouTube. And I think that's what's happening here is, Zach Talks Tech jumped in. He saw that I was streaming on LinkedIn and then jumped over to YouTube, So, and I think that's what happens and I think YouTube's a really great place for community conversation. People can have really good comments. They can definitely jump in and, talk to each other. And I think that's really important. I don't think it's quite as easy on LinkedIn and Twitter to be able to do these things. Twitch, for sure you can, but not so much on the other, more business sort of side of streaming. They are different. They're different. So, yeah, I'm just going to have a little drink here. In all the years of live streaming that I've done, just last week, I learnt the benefits of sparkling water instead of flat water for my live streams. I get a little dry spot in the top of the back of my throat, too much information, I'm sure, when I talk a lot. And I'm sure that proper vocal training and coaching would stop that from happening. I'm not going to go and do it. But I found that this week I made up, because I have a soda stream, so I made up extra bubbly water. And on Thursday's live stream, I decided I wanted bubble water as well as flat water. And I realized, oh my gosh, a little sip of the bubbly water totally fixed the problem. Anyway, oversharing, I know, but bubbly water is just for me, it's nearly as good as flat water. Aline says, I think it's a great way to bring people from other platforms over to YouTube. I think so too. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to test it and try it was I know for myself, sometimes I'm not on YouTube, and so I miss a notification. But I'll be on LinkedIn or I'll be in Twitter, and then I'll see it, and then I'll like, oh, they're streaming, and they'll be like, are they streaming on YouTube? And I check YouTube because I prefer to chat on YouTube, and I know it could be a personal thing that I prefer YouTube. Livestream consultant says, I tried to leave a comment on LinkedIn, but my phone app won't let me for some reason. Yeah. I tend to watch LinkedIn streams from a desktop, so I'm not quite sure how to help there. I'm sorry about that. But yes, so testing new plans and testing new technology. So if you've got a new camera, if you've got a new microphone, if you've got a new piece of sound gear, you need to test it before you run live with it. And I know that that's, could be common sense for some people, but I also know, even for myself, I've done it. I decided, I'm going to go live. I'm totally going to use the Rodecaster. I set it up. Is it going to work? And that's how I went live the first time with the Rodecaster. Was the previous night, I just, added the microphone and everything in, set it up, but I'd never gone live with it. I don't recommend doing that unless you're okay with flying by the seat of your pants, risking crashing. But for me, crashing and burning is a teachable experience. So when I crash and burn, I like to show you how to stop the death spiral and lift yourself back out of it where possible. It's definitely one of those things where you have to decide, are you willing to fly by the seat of your pants? And that's a you decision. Then my next point I wanted to make is backups, okay? And I'm not just talking about like recording the live stream somewhere for backing up. Like StreamYard automatically records your live stream so that you can create other content with it, that you can, I grab a StreamYard link and drop it over in Opus and make clips, things like that. But it's also just a great backup so that if something happens, you can actually upload it as a VOD. If something happens with your live stream, now admittedly, you won't have comments, but you will have the video. So it's not that you don't have nothing, like there's nothing there. But that's not what I'm talking about when it comes to backups, even though that is an awesome backup. What I'm talking about is having a backup camera, having a backup microphone, having an alternative that's not, oh, well, I can't stream. Now, when I say having backups, I'm not talking about what I've done, because over years of buying streaming gear, I do have multiples of things. Because I've upgraded or changed a plan or whatever, I do. But you don't need that. A few weeks back, and it was just before the stream on Perseverance, which was really hilarious, we had a power outage. We had no power. No power means no lighting, no internet. No power means there's no stream, really. But because my stream was about Perseverance, I was like, oh man, I can't not stream. So luckily for me, I have a laptop that runs with a USB power supply. I keep all my power bricks charged. So each week I just double test that they're fully charged and then put them back away. Just a part of my weekly process. And so I knew that I could charge the laptop with this thing. I had my mobile phone that I could charge with the same brick, which I could tether to the laptop so I had internet. I have a different microphone option than a Rodecaster, so I didn't need mains power. So I think I grabbed a Boya BYM1, which just plugged into the laptop, and I have battery operated lights that they had enough power, and worst case scenario, they're all USB-C as well, which meant they could have been charged with another one of the bricks. I have multiple bricks. So I had everything I needed. Now, it would have looked different, for sure, but it still would have worked. So I had backups, and knowing I've got backups, knowing that I've got an alternative. Now, for me, my alternative is that laptop, but your alternative can be your mobile phone. Make sure your phone is charged. Make sure you have a power brick. I'm a big fan of the Anchor power bricks, or raw power bricks. I like them both. I think they're great. And just make sure that you've got access. So if you don't want to miss your stream, You don't have to, because you've got backup systems to do what you need to do. And one of the big advantages, which is why I have the backups the way that I do, is that if I'm not home and I want to stream, I can stream. Not being in this space is not the limitation to my streaming. So I don't like being limited. Does anybody else in the chat hate it when they're limited by arbitrary things that they have no control of? I don't like that. So I like to make little points of control. Crash and burn is fun. I mean, it's exhilarating. There are problems with bringing LinkedIn comments to Ecamm Live and StreamYard. The bugs are on the LinkedIn side. Yeah, I agree. And look, I'm seeing a lot of people annoyed with the StreamYard Instagram integration, but the reality is the issues are on Instagram side. Instagram are making it so you have to jump through all these extra hoops. And I think as long as people can remember that there's a lot of moving parts happening, that as long as you're streaming well to one location, then focus on that one location. If you really do need to stream on these other places, you need to dig deep and understand the limitations that you're going to be coming across. TechView Needs, it's great to see you in the chat. Timeless says that she had no control of the interview. Yeah, when you're the guest, it does make it harder. It really does. But all you can do is just keep calm and just be patient and keep calm. That's it. That would be my one piece of information for if you are a guest on someone's stream and that they're having technical issues, all you do is smile and keep calm. Maybe crack a joke if it's appropriate. That's my automatic defense mechanism, is joke cracking. So, you know, if you can, that's what you do. All right. Otherwise, it's actually not your issue. It's their issue. And they need to understand that if they're going to live stream with guests, maybe they shouldn't use their phone. So if that's the point of failure. So yeah. My backup is my iPad, which is on a different cellular service, just in case. Yes. So my internet provider that I'm using right now is different than the provider for my mobile phone. So I have the two different service providers. So if one goes down, I've still got the other. And you know, I cop the occasional bit of grief about, you get a better deal if you bundled them. And I'm like, really? Would I? Is it a better deal if neither of them are working? No. Oh, you did keep calm. That is awesome. I did my PVA and your advice. That is excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Okay. So so let me know in the chat. So live streaming consultants, let us know their backup. What is your backup? Do you have a backup? Or do you want to brainstorm a backup? Some options for you. I'm happy to try and help with that as well. So drop those into the chat. Now, my next thing, which, you know, some of you are going to roll your eyes at, is you need to manage and moderate. Okay. So one of the things that I'm a bit funny about with having Twitter and LinkedIn both going, and I'm not even looking at them, is I know no one's over there managing or moderating them. And I am such a about that I'm just like, okay, breathing. If the comments were coming through, I would see the comments. So nothing bad is happening. And that's what I just keep telling myself. Nothing bad is happening. Nothing bad is happening. Yes, Optus flashbacks. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I ran back to Zoom when I was the host. Yeah. See, for me, I'm actually canceling my Zoom. When my current year runs out, I'm not re-upping Zoom Professional at this stage. I've got so many alternatives to use to Zoom. When my stream gets enough concurrent viewers to need a good mod, I'll get back to you. Yeah. Like, this is the thing. You do need to consider that as well. You do need to consider that as well. For me, and that's why I said managing and moderating. It's not always just about stopping people from evil doing, right? Which, you know, Doug and I are both probably just this week has been pretty full on for some of the streams that we've been working on, that they've had spam comments and you're just like, oh my gosh, okay. And you don't want it to take over the stream. You don't want it to become a discussion point. You want your moderators to deal with it so it's done and it's a non-issue, which in some instances we were able to do. And then in others, because we did not have the tools required, had to wait until somebody else did something. And you could totally see the difference in the streams by giving your moderators the tools they need versus not having the tools that they need. Timeless RV, it was great to see you, and I will catch you next time for sure. I'm so scared about bots for comments. I would just say this one thing, Amazing Yacht Destinations. I was so scared about comments, not necessarily from bots, but from people who are rude. I've got pretty thin skin when it comes to some topics, and I was really nervous about people just coming in and being mean about my appearance. And, I still, even today before the live stream, I was just like, oh, I'm going live on LinkedIn, but I just wear a t-shirt and I don't do full makeup. And that's a really professional place. And oh man. And these thoughts really did, like 5 minutes before I'm streaming. I'm like looking in the mirror, like, should I do something? Should I do something that I don't normally do before a stream? And then I realized, no. Come on, Chantelle, pull yourself back together. And I just, I really just needed to make sure that I had a big chat with myself about it. And this is similar for bots and trolls and things like that. You just need to prepare for them. So if there is something in particular that you've either seen come up in another stream or for yourself is going to be hard if you see the comments, especially YouTube and I think Twitch as well have really great access to being able to add words to a blocked word list. So you never see the comments. And so I have an extensive list of things in my blocked words list. And I don't want to see those words in my comments. They will make me sad. They will distract me and make me doubt myself and second guess everything that I'm doing because I am very thin-skinned when it comes to these topics and I know it. So I prepare by adding blocked words on topics that I don't like. Also, when I'm in other streams and I see the bots are writing using a particular word, I'll just quickly add that to my blocked words list as well, just so it's easier later for my moderators if I can. But if you are really if it's stopping you from streaming and the fear of the trolls is stopping you from, there's one really big thing to remember is unless you are on a really big channel, the chances of trolls coming in is a lot less because trolls want attention. That's what they want. They want attention. And if there's hardly any viewers, especially while you're learning how to stream, you've got less chance of a troll. And as long as you've got your YouTube window open so you can moderate on YouTube, and then you can even joke about it. I'm going to get rid of that one. So how do I do that? And you go, okay, click the 3 things and talk through it and use it as a teaching experience for yourself. So make it so that it becomes a game. For me, as Doug's gone hammer time here, for me, smushing out the trolls is actually part of the fun for me. So as long as they haven't been able to use the words that actually upset me, which they can't because they're in my blocked words list, then I'm okay. And I can just sort of be like, oh, what an idiot. And just let's get rid of that comment. Let's lose this. And you know what? Yeah, I've talked about it and they did get a little bit of attention, but they haven't been able to take over or derail the stream. So definitely try and, for me, I had to change my mindset on trolls and bots. So YouTube is a lot better at making a year or 2 back, it was a very different situation. YouTube is making it a lot better now. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is definitely improving. and you can just block them. And when you click block, you never have to worry about that account again. Now, if it's a concerted effort and there's more than one having a go, you might have to spend a little minute blocking all of them. Just use it as a teaching exercise for yourself and for those people in your stream. But definitely get a block words list. And I would also add in your physical address to your block words list, because like your phone number, your physical address, anything that could be used to dox your location, add those in as well. Like for me, I don't care if people know I'm in Brisbane, whatever. There's millions of people that live in Brisbane. I'm just one. But I certainly don't want them to know my street address. So I've got those sorts of things in my block words list as well. So I'm going to have another little drink here and then we'll move on. Let's have a look here. What cellular speeds do you get? My speeds in the US on cellular can be very slow. Will all streaming services work on a slower wireless data? I don't know if they will all work. StreamYard will. I'll just drop mine off Wi-Fi and run a quick speed test. Drop off Wi-Fi because I actually don't know. I think mine is definitely better than 5 megabits upload. Let me just check speed test on my phone. All right. Thanks. It's obviously I haven't done it this way for a while since the app was updated. Only allow while using the app. Thanks. Can I please have a speed test now? Oh, come on, go. All right, it's going. It's speed testing. Let me have a look. My download is at it's wavering around the 160, 170 megabits per second. And upload is 7. So there you go. So I could comfortably live stream on this. And in saying that, I'm inside this room. The second I move my phone closer to the window, that'll double. It will at least double because just how this room is, and I know this as well from our living room. If I'm on wireless, like on my mobile phone and not connected to the Wi-Fi, if I get my phone closer to windows, it's way better. I think it's just how our house is built. But I know StreamYard will totally work on 5 to 7 for sure. And it will work on 3 to 5 on a 720 rather than the 1080. So downgrade your stream. And you can even hotspot that to your mobile to OBS and then go into OBS and change your ingest speed and go for that as well. And you can change that down to, I used to change mine down to 2000, like KBS, so 2 megabits per second. And it was a little, bit of stream dropping, but you can totally do it. Authenticity will take you further. Agreed. 7-figure bigwigs still live streaming t-shirts. Yes, they do. I have seen them. Yes. Some guys only wear black t-shirts every day. Look, I nearly wore a black t-shirt today. I'm a big fan of black t-shirts, but I decided to go with not black. Chantelle, we only want to see you as you. That's what makes you unique. Thank you. That's why you're my mentor. You're wonderful telling us how you feel. Trolls, just learn how to squash trolls. Absolutely. Just learn how to squash them. They don't deserve to have, and I see this come up. People have the right to free speech. I have to leave their comments. No, you don't. You don't have to. Free speech rules and different countries are different, but a free speech is actually about not being persecuted by the government for your beliefs. Has nothing to do with being allowed to spew your vitriol in somebody else's live stream. No, this is my corner of the internet and I will delete your comments if they are inappropriate for my stream. It is that simple. Squash the trolls. I really need to work on a blocked words list. Absolutely. There's some places online that I think you can grab one to start with, but I didn't use one of those. YouTube itself already have an extensive, which I don't know the words on the list, but they have a list of words that they will block. And when you add to the block list, you're kind of just adding individualized sections just for your channel. I would think about the things that derail you. There are swear words, like I swear all the time. I'm a sweary person. There are swear words I don't like and I won't use. And it felt weird typing them because I had to add them to the block words list. But it is definitely, I'm glad it's in the list. Like I had to type it once to press save. And every now and again when I scroll through, I see it and I know I typed it. But yeah. Good advice around the doxing. Yeah, just you've always got to protect yourself. Protect yourself, protect your data. I didn't know that I have horrible words in my channel block words list. I didn't think about physical location. I'll do that soon. Absolutely. Does anyone have a basic block words list? Yeah, there's definitely places online that you can so if you just Google for a block words list, I read somewhere, I was in one of the chats, like in one of the YouTube educator groups, and someone was talking about where they got theirs from. They are out there. I don't know where they are. They're definitely out there. Doug's over on Twitter. Hey, Doug, how's it going? You're free to say it, not free from the consequences of saying it. Yeah, like unless you're talking about religious persecution and you're worried about the government getting you, free speech will help you with that, which is why there's so much divisive conversation because they're allowed to say it. But you're not free to speak about, you're not free to derail someone else's stream or someone's comment area with something and be angry that they deleted it because of free speech. That's not how it works. You don't have the right for that comment. And YouTube do not actually take into weight for sharing and promoting your video based on the number of comments that you have. So you don't have to leave it in there hoping that YouTube will think, oh, more people have interacted. No, you don't have to. Get rid of those nasty comments. Think about the next person coming to comment who sees that and that it's still there and nobody removed it. Do they feel they're in a safe space where they can talk about the thing you're actually talking about and not have some random come at them with some bizarre, non-related thing? Now, it can happen, but if you need to be moderating your comments as well, not just your live streaming, and go in and check and remove any of that sort of stuff. You're free to speak on your own stream, but not on someone else's stream. Absolutely. Frankie is also a potty mouth. Go us, Frankie. That's a t-shirt alone. This is my corner of the internet. I mean, I say it a lot. It would be a good t-shirt. This is my corner of the internet. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like if you joke about it, like I see people every now and again at airport security and they'll joke about, what they've, it'll just pick up the one I touched for the last flight or something like that. And they're just joking. But the security people do not take this as sorry, you're not boarding the plane. You are removed from the flight. It's even if you are lying or kidding or whatever, they're not going to risk it. And this is how I feel when I am moderating. Is what someone has said a positive thing for the community? Is it a question relevant? Or is it just somebody deciding to drag over their soapbox to scream into the wind of your audience? Because that third one, they're gone. And if they continue to do it, not just if they do it once and I'll remove a comment, it will obviously depend on the comment. If the comment is vitriol, if it is mean-spirited, if it is rude or disgusting or whatever, they're blocked. It's that simple. I'm a one and done kind of person. But if it is something where it's like, oh, look, I'm just going to remove that. I'm just going to remove it. And they might, if they're in a live stream, they might get a timeout, whatever. But I will judge it and weigh it accordingly. But I will tell you that if somebody if they continue to spew this kind of hate or non-relevance in the stream and don't take guidance from myself or my moderators, they're gone. They don't have a right to be there, or they don't have a right to comment. They can still watch, they just can't comment. So I obviously have some of my own soapbox issues, which I dragged all of them out for this stream because I'm all about the preparation and practicing and testing and moderating. All of these things are my, like, they're my little things. They're my little things I hold close. And I want you to hold them close as well and think about how can doing some of these things, and you may not be able to do them all straight away, but how can adding one of these things, either practicing or preparing or organizing yourself a backup system and testing your backup system, how does that help you and make you feel when you're live streaming? Will it ease any of the butterflies in your tummy to make it less stressful and make you more likely to stream? So let me know in the chat. Do you think any of these you didn't know before, any of these that you're going to try? I would love to know if there was something you hadn't considered, or if you've got more questions for me, please throw them in now. I'm going to drink some more bubbly water. Okay, I know there's a little bit of a delay. Now, I'll be checking the Twitter and the LinkedIn just to check their quality and see how they went afterwards. And if I'm happy, I may multi-stream there again next week. I know that it actually brought Zach over from LinkedIn. He saw I was live there and he came over. So that was one extra who jumped in and said hi. So, you know, that's a bonus, right? That's an advantage. Zach's a buddy. And I watch his live streams, and I didn't think he'd actually caught one of mine, and I didn't realize why, but turns out he'd subscribed to the wrong channel. He would be very, very, it's a very niche channel. If you don't like yarn, there's probably a good chance you're not going to get much out of it. I will say this about the yarn crafting channel, and I'll say this just this one time. While I am crafting the entire time, we solve the problems of the world. We talk about anything and everything just like a real craft group. So we don't actually always talk about craft. We do sometimes. So, you know, there's that risk because it's a craft channel. All right, let's have a look here. The quality of Twitter is great. Oh, that is awesome. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Appreciate you jumping in here on your day off as well. I bought an entire mic system like yours. You have some advice on that, like why aren't you using earphones? Right now, I'm not using earphones because I don't have a guest. So if I had a guest, I've got headphones right here. Wired headphones, I don't like wireless. That's just another point of issue, another point of failure. If you use wireless headphones, they can create interference. Their battery could be flat. I always use wired headphones. But if I don't have a guest, I don't need headphones, right? So yeah, that's the only reason why. You bought an entire mic system like mine. So are you using like the pod mic, or are you using the Boya lav mic? Because I have both. Holly says it's the best channel. Holly's over on Fiverrific all the time. She loves it over there. I'm going to put some backups in place, still setting up the original stream. So yeah, so definitely while you're building out a stream, you can be thinking about, okay, if this went down, what could I use? And you could actually be building both at the same time. I might start streaming to Twitter and do overlay or something saying I'm live on YouTube. That might get some more over to our K-pop streams. Oh, awesome. That's a great idea to create a little overlay. Like everybody's chatting on YouTube. I'm not into knitting, but I find Fiberrific Live entertaining. That is great. I certainly don't craft. However, I watch your other channel stream because I want to see how you interact with your community and viewers. Yeah, it's definitely a bigger stream. There's a bigger live audience over there. That is where I learnt everything. I'm not going to lie. That is where I test and learn everything. That's where I've built memberships. I've been streaming over there for 8 years. They are the guinea pigs, and they know it, and they're okay with it for the most part. Let's have a look here. LinkedIn is about 15 seconds behind YouTube. I still can't add a comment on mobile, so do not know what's up with that. I think it's an app issue. Other than that, the stream looks and sounds solid on LinkedIn. That is awesome. Oh, you got the pod mic. That is great. I love the pod mic. For me, I've got a Rode NTG, video mic NTG, right? And I had that for years. Used it when I had my other studio. It was fantastic in that space. In this space, this is a room in my house. Behind this wall is the family bathroom. 3 meters that way, or 9-10 feet that way, is my husband, who is currently on a call for work. And my daughter is floating around home. I've just realized I heard her voice. She's awake as well. This mic doesn't pick any of that up. That one did. And I'll still use this other one every now and again. It's a backup. So a backup that picks up, I'll shut the door. I'll be more inclined to shut the door and block myself into the oven that is this room, which today I definitely didn't want to do because it is scorching here today. It is over 100 degrees F here today. It is terrible. All right, let's have a look here. Still too backlog business YouTube channel back up to speed. Still too backlog building the business on YouTube channel back up to speed. So no live streaming for a while yet. Fair enough. You have to prioritize. You have to prioritize. You definitely need to think about what is your sometimes you need to focus on where the money comes from, and you need to focus on the business of something and do money making activities, because without those, some of this other stuff can't happen. So it's legitimate. It's a legitimate reason. Frankie says, I have a pod mic, but I move around too much and it drops out. Look, I'll be honest. I move away all the time, and it happens. It happens. For me, I've really had to learn how to stay in proximity, and I don't always, because I'll throw my head back with laughter. I'll move around. I talk with my hands, so I need like all this space for my hands. And that is actually an excellent use case for grabbing yourself the video mic NTG. If you're in a quieter audio treated room, that you don't have family running around or flushing toilets, whatever, the video mic NTG is much better for picking up audio as you move around. It's great for that. So yeah. Let me have a look here. NVIDIA have a great app. I need one of their cards, but it's to help with my audio quality. Okay. I've never how do I put this? I use what I need to use, and I've never really dug deep into additional hardware like accelerators for my computers to run the microphones. I've always just used what the audio interfaces had as an availability. So I've recently upgraded from the little Rode AI1, which was one microphone, one headphones in, and I've recently just upgraded to the Rodecaster Pro 2. But I've always just utilized the inbuilt interfaces for my audio, and for better or worse. And what it is for me is if I start thinking too hard about making things perfect or lining everything up just right, I'm less likely to want to stream. So I have to think like the 80-20 for me. It's like, sure, you know what? My audio might be a little bit delayed, but if I focus too hard on it, it will probably stop me from streaming. So is it better that my audio is out by like a couple of microseconds, or is it better to not stream? Because that's where my brain goes. If the solve is too hard for the problem, then I may just give up on the whole thing. And this is a personality thing for me. So, and it's not to say that I shouldn't remedy this personality thing, like, don't get me wrong, but I know my own self. If I make a problem too big, I give up on the whole thing. So I try to focus on the little things, the little tweaks that I can do that aren't a big deep dive issue problem, and get it done. So rather than like, I'm one of these done is better than perfect people. I'm definitely in that camp. Done is better than perfect. And published is better than not published. Now, there's obviously levels and layers to things. Like sometimes I'll be like, no, I just want to get this thing just right. And if it's something I know I can do and it just needs my focus and attention to do it, then I'll do it. But if it's something I need to totally research or rebuild a computer for or something like that, I'll be like, what's the workaround? How do I do this without having to do that other stuff? So that's where I'm at. RTX voice, it even removes vacuum cleaners in the same room. That's cool. Another option is something like just crisp, which will remove background noise as well. For me, what I did was I've added moving blankets. You can't see them, but it's just the cheapy moving blankets from Bunnings. I've got like a big fabric hole punchy thing. So I added some grommets, put some bungee cord on them and just hung them all around the room because directly in front of me is a big double glass window. So I just needed to control the sound a little bit. It is not soundproofed. It is sound treated. So, excuse me. So I've done that. But these walls are thin. They're just gyprock walls. So what is that in the US? What's gyprock in the US? Drywall? I think they're just thin drywall walls. One layer of drywall, a few inches, and then another layer of drywall. And those inches is just empty air. So sound travels through the walls. Just keeping it going. Bunnings for the win. Yes, Bunnings for the win. Sound treatment is the best. I think everybody can do some kind of sound treatment. Maybe not hang entire 3 walls with sound blankets or moving blankets to ease the sound. Maybe it's just as simple as putting one piece of acoustic foam directly behind your camera. There is something you can do. Okay, so it's drywall or sheetrock or gypsum board. Okay, it's got lots of names. We just call it, what do I call it? It's only got one name here. Gyprock. I actually think it's the brand. I think Gyprock's a brand. It's like poppers. Poppers in Australia, they're like the little Tetra packs of fruit juice that you put in kids' lunchboxes. We just call them poppers, but poppers was a brand. Yes, we do have 3 names for the same product. Look, I'm sure we do too. I'm sure we've got things that we name a million things. Absolutely. Gyprock. Okay, let's have a look. I'm thinking Kmart clothes rack with a blanket draped over it. That'll work. That'll absolutely work. One thing that my brother-in-law suggested, he is a professional drummer, and he said the biggest thing to remember is corners. So if you can even just get a hat rack and put a blanket on it in a corner, it'll stop the noise bouncing off the corners. So, little things like that. Just throw a doona down on the floor. If you've got a big echoey room, throw some blankets on the floor around you. Little things can make a difference. You don't have to have a permanent solution. It's a bass trap. Yeah, absolutely. Your corners are your bass traps for sure. So he said, if you've got nothing else that you can do that with the corners. So I make sure that my sound blankets actually go around the corners of this room. I'm just thinking I don't think because the sound blanket just starts just here. No, you can't see it. That's all right. Carpet over tiles and wood floors. Absolutely. I actually have linoleum floor in this room. Now, luckily, my microphone is right next to my face, and I do have the desk and the blankets basically within. I could just about touch them. They're that far behind the camera. Having just something makes a difference. It really does. You don't have to have the big expensive sound panels and all that kind of stuff. If you can, that's great. But you don't have to. So anyway, on that note of all of these amazing sound, I could just keep talking about sound. I really could. And about, the 80-20 for sure. I totally could. Let's have a look. I purchased sound absorbing panels for my streaming room, although to be honest, it was because they look so cool. Yeah. That's awesome. And if you can do it, do something. So whether or not it's just a couple of blankets that you've dragged out of the linen cupboard that no one in your family likes to use, and you drape them over something, or whether you install actual sound panels. Don't forget your ceiling, by the way. If you're going that hard and you're getting sound panels, don't forget to get one above your head. So you want to be absorbing some of the sound and think about how the room echoes and move things around and test it out. Like, don't just assume that the first spot's the right spot. Anyway, as I said, I could continue this, and maybe we should have a whole stream about sound options for your live streams. Maybe that can be next week's stream or the week after. But it is time for me to run away and do some other things with my day. I really appreciate those of you that jumped in. Now, one thing I will say before I go, when I was looking to do my speed test before, I noticed I had an additional email, and I didn't realize Doug had bought 3 copies as well for support. So I really do appreciate that as well, Doug. So Amazing Yacht Destinations, Home Rapid Repair, and Doug Houston all jumped in and bought me coffees. You guys, thank you so much. Have an awesome Sunday night. Those of you that are not in Australia, those of you that are in the Southern Hemisphere, enjoy the beginning of your week, and I'll catch you next time. Have an awesome one. Bye now.